In a dimly lit room, fate is decided in silence. Doors are shut, and numbers dance in the shadows. Someone is watching, someone is deciding, someone is about to lift the curtain on a dangerous truth. And behind that truth lies a game between debt, growth, and the fragile thread of trust that could snap at any moment. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just headlines, it's the hidden story behind them. But before we dive deep into this dark and uncertain world, do this. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Tell us what you expect from the upcoming November budget. Do you think the government can still regain control? All right, let's begin the story. When Rachel Reeves took the keys to the Treasury, she promised a powerful plan to lift Britain out of its economic chaos. But from the very start, her words faced suspicion. Could she really grow the economy? Could she bring down the debt? Those questions hovered over Westminster like a gathering storm. Then came the voice of Sir Charlie Bean, one of Britain's most respected economists, a man who served at both the Office for Budget Responsibility and the Bank of England. And what he said sent shockwaves through the city. I do not believe that Ms. Reeves's policies can stop the recent surge in UK borrowing costs. This wasn't an ordinary comment. Coming from Sir Charlie, a man knighted for his service to monetary policy, it was a bombshell. His verdict landed like thunder inside a government already struggling to prove it had a plan. Behind the polished speeches and confident press releases, the truth was brutal. Economists warned that Reeves would need to raise £30 billion in new taxes just to balance the books in her November budget. Her fiscal credibility, once her greatest political weapon, was now bleeding out. Costly U-turns and mixed signals had blown a hole in her plans. To recover, Reeves hoped to rebuild her £9.9 billion of headroom, the small financial cushion she'd proudly cited months earlier, in an attempt to reassure both investors and voters. But Sir Charlie's response was cutting. Restoring that wafer-thin headroom matters less than having a clear, coherent, and credible economic plan. At present, the government doesn't seem to have one. It was a devastating statement, and one that echoed through every boardroom in London. Meanwhile, the numbers told their own story. The yield on 10-year UK government bonds, known as gilts, had risen from 4.2% before Labour's first budget last year to over 4.7% today. That may sound small, but in a trillion-pound economy, it's colossal. Because Britain is now spending over £100 billion a year just to service its debt, nearly 10% of total government spending. In this war of numbers and nerves, confidence is the currency that matters most. Sir Charlie warned, the government cannot afford to see yields rise any further. Maintaining the confidence of markets is absolutely crucial. But confidence, once broken, is hard to rebuild. High inflation, worsened by Reeves's controversial national insurance raid, had already driven up short-term borrowing costs. Meanwhile, successive governments before her had refused to face the reality of Britain's structural weakness, the low growth, high debt, and political paralysis that define its economy. And now, Reeves was left paying the price. Then came another powerful voice, Andrew Bailey, Governor of the Bank of England. He said something that cut to the heart of Britain's problem. It's become too difficult to build in Britain. We must rediscover the speed of construction that powered the North Sea oil boom. He recalled how the Flotter oil terminal in Orkney went from planning permission in January 1974 to being fully operational by the summer of 1976, just 2.5 years. And he asked, almost pleadingly, why can't we move with that same ambition today? Bailey invoked the spirit of Harold Wilson's White Heat of Technology speech, a reminder that Britain once knew how to move fast, dream big, and build boldly. But somewhere along the line, that fire dimmed. In an attempt to prove she was still in control, Rachel Reeves hosted top figures from the tech and finance worlds, an elite gathering inside the Treasury. Her goal, convince major firms to list on the London Stock Exchange instead of fleeing abroad. Among the guests was Anthony Gutman from Goldman Sachs, one of the city's most powerful investment bankers. He and others pushed Reeves for deregulation, tax cuts, and a reduction in stamp duty on shares. The Treasury's official response was carefully worded. The Chancellor is focused on making the UK the best place for businesses to invest and grow. By removing barriers to investment, we're delivering our plan for change. But beneath the surface, investors remained unconvinced. Was this really a plan? Or simply damage control? Beyond Westminster, the British housing market told a darker story. This morning, Halifax data revealed that the average UK house price fell 0.3% in September, down £794, and had grown just 1.3% over the past 12 months, the weakest since April 2024. The reason? Simple: buyers have vanished. They're MIA, missing in action, too nervous to buy ahead of a budget that could tighten the screws even further. High mortgage rates. Rumours of new property taxes. And a deep fear that the government simply doesn't know what it's doing. Confidence, the lifeblood of the housing market, has evaporated. And as one analyst put it, we're not in a buyer's market anymore, we're in no one's market. Reeves's government tried to respond by announcing new plans to speed up the home buying process. But it was like painting over cracks in a collapsing wall. Because even with lower prices and new mortgage products, the real crisis is psychological, a total loss of belief in the government's competence. As the dust settles, the pattern becomes clear. Reeves's fiscal room is narrowing. Debt is mounting. Inflation remains stubborn. And the markets are restless. Sir Charlie Bean's verdict wasn't just harsh, it was prophetic. He's seen this cycle before, governments promising fiscal prudence while quietly losing control of their borrowing costs. He also warned Reeves against knee-jerk spending cuts that could choke off growth altogether, because Britain's long-term projections are already fragile and uncertain. Analysts at the Fraser of Allender Institute noted that Reeves's budget left her with dangerously thin headroom, a buffer so small that even a minor shock could push her off course. The choices before her are grim. Raise taxes and face public outrage. Cut spending and risk economic contraction. Or gamble and hope the markets keep believing. Every path is political suicide in a different way. The truth is unavoidable. If the government cannot grow the economy and reduce debt simultaneously, Britain may face a storm not just of numbers, but of politics. Public anger, party divisions, investor panic, all could collide before the end of the year. And here lies the great irony: Reeves entered office promising stability after chaos. Yet today, even seasoned economists whisper that the chaos may just be beginning. Yes, she can raise taxes. Yes, she can delay spending. But every move tightens the noose around growth, confidence, and political credibility. In the end, this isn't just about fiscal targets or bond yields. It's about belief, the invisible force that makes markets move and governments stand. Rachel Reeves must convince a weary nation and a skeptical market that her plan isn't smoke and mirrors. But can she? Can she restore growth and credibility in a country where both have been fading for years? Or is she simply the latest Chancellor to inherit a broken system and pretend it still works? As the November budget looms, one thing is certain. Britain stands on the edge of a reckoning. So now I'll ask you. Do you believe Rachel Reeves can turn this around? Or has the damage already been done? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this unfolding story of power, policy, and peril.